Shall I start?
Yes. Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the start of series of Internal Audit Symposium. Before we start on the series, I request the staff WRC to play ICI motto.
य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्विमाणः निर्विमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यपि कश्चन एतद्वैता 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 एतद्वैता.
Thank you so much, Mishra ji. Good evening, everyone. I welcome the chairman of WRC of ICI, CA Arpit Kabra ji, Central Council member, respected CA CS Nanda ji, the faculty of the session, CA Rita Shewakramani, and all participants, good evening and welcome to the first day of the Internal Audit Symposium. We are privileged to have along with us the Central Council member. Before I invite him to share his words, I request Chairman WRC of ICI, the dynamic chairman, CA Arpit Kabra ji, to share his words of wisdom.
Thank you, Chintan bhai. Am I audible?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. A warm welcome to all the participants in this wonderful Internal Audit Symposium. Start of Navratri. So at the outset, let me wish you a Shubh Navratri. These are powerful days, and believe me, everything that we do has a very organic outcome. And I think, therefore, at the council, we decided, Chintan bhai helped us in setting up this wonderful Internal Audit Symposium, something that would really be a very core of whatever as chartered accountants we do. I think these subjects that have been lined up, these topics and wonderful speakers that have been lined up. Congratulations, Chintan bhai, for setting up a wonderful symposium. Let me tell all of you that, while at WIRC, we are engaged in doing various activities, be it WOW series, be it Tech Edge, be it Friday Fundas, be it Gurukul at WIRC, be it the Myriad series, Nescafe, Samvad Vishwaska, a certificate course on executive presence and personal branding, Project Saptrishi, Project Vasundhara to talk about greener balance sheets on ESG, Prerna, how can we become a consultant to CA firms? How can we grow the entire ecosystem of a CA firm through use of effective chartered accountants, consultants, train and learn, learning from legends. So these are some of the initiatives of WIRC, and believe me, today in this symposium, you'll find a glimpse of everything. At the outset, let me tell you, the kind of efforts that the WIRC has been putting, constant representations to the cooperative committee has yielded result. The cooperative empanelment for auditors, for cooperative societies has been opened up. For all of you in Maharashtra, I request all of you, please go to Mahasahakar, the website, and see if you want to get empaneled on the cooperative credit, so cooperative audit housing societies auditors empanelment, and you can do that now. It's been after 2017 that the empanelment has opened up. Same way for charity commissioners, same way there are a lot of discussions and confusions on charitable trust, the Form 10B, the kind of certification that are now expected, login ID, password. So for that, we have a session of Samvad Vishwaska. You all can attend that. If you have any queries, you can feel free to reach out. Recently, we have launched a chatbot, WIRC Setu. On our websites, if you'll see, there's a floating WhatsApp icon. It will bring you to the world of WIRC. It is a Setu. It is a bridge that will connect all the members to WIRC in a very, very intuitive manner. And it knows whom it is speaking to. It's a wonderful experience. I will request all of you to please have that experience. and join us and give us a feedback if at all you have any for all these initiatives at WRC. Lastly, I think in this session, in order to have key takeaways, please sit with a paper and a pen, write down some aspects that you feel has really made an impact on you, and you can review these while these sessions will be uploaded on YouTube on the WIRC channel. All of that will be available on our website. Also, I invite you to look at our publications section on WIRC. It is available free of cost to every paid member of WIRC. With these words, I welcome once again all of you. Congratulations, Chintan Bhai, the entire Intel Audit Committee, and I welcome one of the most prolific speakers, a real torchbearer, someone who has helped in setting up the forensic accounting standards, someone who is working on the DAB, on the entire forefront of capital markets. I welcome CS Nandaji, the Central Council member from Punjab. So welcome. Over to you, Chintan Bhai.
Yes, thank you so much. The chairman of WRC, I think the kind of innovation which he has done under his leadership, it may require the full session. Maybe a full day will be lesser for him to justify the work which he has done. We are privileged to have the dynamic and the proficient speaker, the respected Central Council member, who has been known for his remarkable work in ICI. No time is being taken much more to explain his profile, but however, he is known as the person of internal audit. Whenever something happens, whatever committee he heads, but the kind of contribution he has done for a profession is something which always remind me to call him and asking him to spare his valuable time to share his words of wisdom. I request Nandaji, respected Central Council member Nandaji, to share his views on this previous symposium.
Thanks a lot, Chintan Bhai, for your kind words. The chairman of WRC is CA Arpit Kabraji. The learned speaker of the day, Madam Rita Shewakramani. The man behind this entire course who designed it with great precision, who put in his best and is working incessantly to ensure that all members go home enlightened, putting at rest all the doubts that would have arisen over the years of professional life. C.A. Chintan Patel from Ahmedabad. Ladies and gentlemen, I am truly honored to be amongst you on today's historic day. Two things culminating today, this symposium, and at the same time, Navratras. Navratras also instill a lot of confidence and, more importantly, the religious fervor which shall continue for 9 months together. Ladies and gentlemen, internal audit essentially is a management function. We chartered accountants need to understand this. We are answerable to the audit committees or to the boards as the case may be. And what we present, what our findings are, how we interact with the stakeholders. They're not only clients or stakeholders, but with regulators and government as well. How we put across our reports, what are the areas where we focus and where we keep follow-ups are very important things. I want to tell you, I'm now chairing the Digital Accounting and Assurance Board. Again, a very important facet of internal audit, forensic standards. Yes, come 1st July 2023. After 1st July 2023, all forensic assignments that have to be undertaken have to be as per the forensic accounting and investigative standards laid down by Digital Accounting and Assurance Board and mandated by ICI. Now the pertinent question arises, so many standards, how do you go into the intricacies of that standards? So the board set up a study group comprising of more than 150 chartered accountants. Marathon 30 meetings. The entire implementation guide was framed. It was sent to the screening committee. Inputs of screening committee were incorporated. Then again sent to the expert committee. And when the final draft was prepared, it was given to public for public exposure. And at the same time, it underwent 3 legal reviews. And then the implementation guide is there. So today you have set of 2 documents. Number 1, the Forensic Accounting and Investigative Standards, 23 in number. And the first in the word, there are no forensic standards, anywhere codified in the world. Your institute, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, which was set up by an Act of Parliament way back on 1st July 1949, when the most important document to the democracy, the Constitution, was not adopted. We bring to you this document. Internal audit is also coming with a very great speed with standards. I request all the participants, those who want to come as speakers on any of the boards, either Internal Standard Board or Digital Accounting and Assurance Boards, I want to request them to be a part of this. People who want to technically contribute to this. Yes, we set standards, we set guidance notes, we set guides on specific industries, may it be pharmaceutical industry, may it be tire industry, may it be stock markets. Any person willing to contribute, we are most happy to ensure. Anyone who wants to come could always speak to Mr. Chetan Patel or directly write to me, message to me. My number is there at ICI.org. My full contact details are there. You can always come and we can always discuss on that. To conclude, ladies and gentlemen, I understand I am in huge traffic and there are voices of horns coming, so I will not like to stretch it more. I want to tell you that largely our initiative of performance has to be very clear. People want to move on two boats. There's a very nice couplet which I would like to share with you. The couplet says, "Tamam ke tamam शहर बसाकर गांव में सुकून के लिए जाते हैं। तमाम के तमाम शहर बसाकर सुकून के लिए गांव ढूंढते हैं। कितने नादान हैं हम, हाथ में कुल्हाड़ी लेकर छांव ढूंढते हैं." You have to be very equitably balanced. You need to understand what is expected of you. You need to have that technical knowledge. And very importantly, you have to be conversant with IT systems, because internal audit today is not only risk-based, it calls for a lot of IT involvement, lot of technology impulse. And therefore, if you want to become a new generation internal, you need to understand and have all these facets. So in order to transform you to an internal audit, new generation professional, WRC under the very important leadership of C.A. Chintan Patel have created a great symposium. Please attend all days and try to take home whatever great things you get. My best wishes to this symposium. I will also try to come whatever topics I can. Thankful to Madam Rita, who has spared her very valuable time to come and be a part of this symposium as a faculty. I would like to tell you, the institute moves only on shoulders of people like Madam Rita, who ultimately, in their entire professional career, do something and pass that all selflessly to the public at large. Thanks a lot. My best wishes.
Thank you so much, sir, for the wishes. Dear friends, I requested Nandanji to share his words and just look at, he has been traveling, very highly occupied, but still for members, for participants, he has spared his time and share his thoughts. Sir, your words of wisdom, your starting points are very, very important. It will be appreciative and encouraging for all participants to get glued throughout this particular series. And once again, one very, very important things which Nandanji has mentioned, that from 1st July, we all have to ensure that wherever we handle forensic assignments, we need to abide by FAFD standards, which is compulsory for all of us. So let us ensure that we get updated ourselves by way of the changes which is happening by ICI. So now taking much, let us go through and discuss about the internal symposium. As I have provided to all of you the whole series, it is of 7 days. In 7 days, we are starting today with overview and value addition. The objective of the today's session is to focus on the opportunities available for CA and expectations from the internal audit. So value addition is something which is being changed. Now we are more focused on value addition, not only the voucher-based exercise. So today's speaker, she is going to speak more on the different facets of internal audit and how it's useful to the professionals and how it's important for the management. Then we are going to go straight away from the internal audit plan, risk-based internal audit plan. Then third day, we are going to discuss on the SOP and risk-based framework. Risk control metrics, SOP drafting is again one of the very, very important opportunities for all professionals. Even though you don't have internal audit assignments, but we do have assignments where the companies wants you to draft SOPs. So how to identify risk, which are the control that has been discussed in the session 3. Fourth is end-to-end process audit. Right now, if you get appointment of internal audit, they expect you to do process audit. So what is the start and end point of process audit? Which are the cycles covered in internal audit? That is covered under 4. On the 4th day, we also have a panel discussion where the professionals who are practicing plus the internal audit head of Intas, Patel Engineering Limited, they're going to be there to have interaction discussions and sharing their thought process on particular aspects of internal audit. Then 5th day is on AI. Nandaji also talk about the technology. We cannot complete anything unless until we understand use of technology. So this 5th day we are going to talk about AI in AI, artificial intelligence in internal audit. So again, it will be followed by a panel discussion where we have the signatories, we have the professionals from Adani Group, Signet Infotech, and others who are going to share their particular experience of using technology. Then 6th day we have the communication, report drafting, communicating the observations to the management is very critical aspects, because unless until management is happy, unless until management gets validations, it is not completed. So 6th day we're going to discuss about the how to communicate your observations, report writing, again to be followed by panel discussions from Indoco Remedies Limited, then also Kotak Life Insurance. They're going to discuss about the particular aspects. And last day, 7th day, we are also going to discuss forensic audit and internal audit. So there is also expectations to increase your scope from internal audit to forensic audit. So there, where we're going to discuss about role of internal auditor in identification, detection, forensic audit. Again, there will be panel discussions, which is led by the Arvind Limited internal audit, Aditya Jain, and also from Ludha Group internal audit head is going to be there. So this is the way which has been there. My humble request, as Nanaji has mentioned, that please ensure that every session you attend, because this is a series where every session has been broken into different aspects, and even if you just go through all aspects, then only the object has been achieved. And we want at the end of series there are a lot of professionals where the skill has been sharpened and we are able to serve to the management with the biggest and most important technical knowledge. So let us not take much time further, and I jump over to Rita ji. Before that, sir, once again thank you so much, Anna ji, for coming and sparing your valuable times, and we look forward to have
Always there, Chintan bhai, always there. At your beck and call.
Yes. Okay. Now, today's faculty, CA Rita Shewakramani. She is a chartered accountant, a certified internal auditor, CIA from IA USA, a certified risk management professional from IA USA. She has cleared the Black Belt Six Sigma exam from G Capital. She has around 28 years of post-qualification experience. Out of this, 18 years is into GRC, internal audit, risk application reviews, internal financial controls, operations, process, internal control reviews, fraud investigations, documentation of SOP. And she is currently working with Risk Pro India Ventures into risk advisory services as executive vice president. She has worked with consulting firms like PricewaterhouseCoopers, EY, Anuja Associates, Baker Tilly Singhi, and corporations like Reliance, GE Capital, CMS, Competitors, and the past. So with this very good experience, prolific speaker, and the faculty, I welcome the CA Rita Shewakramani for sharing her valuable insights on today's topic and provide us the opportunities which are available for professionals in practice. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Chintan, for that introduction. And I would also like to thank Mr. Nanda ji, Sri Arpit ji, and Chintan for inviting me to speak at this webinar, and also Mishra ji for arranging all the logistics and all. Thanks everybody. So I'll just share my screen.
Yes, please.
You all can see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay. Fine. So today we'll discuss about what is overview and value addition in internal audit. What are the professional opportunities and expectations from internal audit? One second, just 1 second. One minute, that is, yeah. Yeah. So today's agenda of discussion, we will discuss about what is internal audit. I'm sure many of you will know what is internal audit. Maybe for the interest of the new chartered accountants or freshers who may not have done internal audit. So for them, I'm just explaining what is internal audit. What is the need for internal audit? What is risk-based internal audit? Then we will have a video on what are the principles of internal audit and the 3 lines of defense, which is by the IIA. Then how internal audit adds value to an organization. We will also discuss about internal audit cycle and the approach to internal audit. Then we will discuss about a little points about Companies Act, whether the Companies Act has any provisions with regards to organization of internal audit function. What are the points which makes mandatory under Companies Act for internal audit? What are the qualifications under Companies Act, duties of internal under Companies Act, appointment of internal audit and scope of internal audit, and penalties for non-compliance with internal audit provisions. We will also discuss about what are the board and management expectations from internal audit. What do the stakeholders expect from internal audit? Your process owners, your CXOs, your stat auditor, what do they expect from internal audit? Then what are the we'll discuss about what are the prerequisites for internal audit. Then what are the courses apart from chartered accountancy for internal audit? Examples of assignments that can be done by internal auditor. What are the professional opportunities in internal audit? So we'll discuss all this. I'll request everybody, if you have any questions, I'll request everybody to put the questions in the question and answer box. After the end of the session, we'll take all the questions and we'll have an interactive session. Now, I won't be able to see any hand raise or anything because I'm in complete slideshow. Okay, now I'll start with what is internal audit. Internal audit basically is an independent management function. By independent, we mean basically the internal auditor should not have any prejudice or any bias towards anybody or any department. He should have an impartial attitude. And why it is called a management function? Because internal auditors are appointed by the senior management, the CXOs, and mainly the board of directors. That is why it is called the management function. Next is it involves a continuous critical appraisal of functioning of an entity. Why it is called continuous? It's not like stat audit, which is done once a year. Internal audit has to be done continuously for various areas. It can be a quarterly internal audit, or it can be every 4 months, it can be 6 months, depending upon the area, whether it's high risk or medium risk or low risk. And that's why it's called continuous internal audit. And it involves a critical appraisal of the functioning of an entity. By this, we mean internal audit entails inspection, verification, and examination of the financial and non-financial records. Internal audit also suggests improvements and adds value. It suggests improvements in various areas. For example, let's say if it's a manufacturing company, it will not only in the finance accounts, it will suggest improvements. It will also suggest improvements in the production process. There are technical internal auditors available who can give their value addition for manufacturing processes. Then it also helps in strengthening the overall governance mechanism of the entity. What do you mean by governance mechanism? By corporate governance, we mean the system by which the businesses are run and managed. And by governance, we also mean transparency, accountability, effectiveness, efficiency, and responsiveness. Last but not the least, it includes the entity's strategic risk management and internal control system. By strategic risk management, we mean the entire company's ERM framework and the internal control system. Now, what is the need for internal audit? Why do we require internal audit? Businesses, the first point, the businesses are becoming complex day by day. Businesses are having geographical spread all over India and all over the world. It also has, many businesses have become online. The way to audit traditional, like let's say the Kirana store. The Kirana store was a trading business, very simple to audit. But now there are retail chains and retail outfits which are very complex and they are multi-locational all over India or even abroad. Because of this, internal audit is required. Then comes enhanced compliance requirements. By enhanced compliance requirements, all the compliances, your IRDA compliances for insurance companies, your RBI compliances for NBFCs and banks, your compliances relating to income tax, GST, Companies Act, environmental laws, labor laws, all these compliances are checked by internal auditors, and that's why there's a need for the internal audit function in an organization. Then we are coming to focus on risk management and internal controls. By risk management, we mean preparation of the risk registers, preparation of the enterprise-wide framework. Yeah, there are different people which are separate from internal auditor doing this, but internal audit and risk management should work hand in hand so that the expensive resources of internal audit can be assigned to high risk areas. Then coming to unconventional business models. Today we see Amazon, we see Flipkart, we see different payment methods like UPI, Amazon Pay, Google Pay. So all these unconventional business models are requiring a need for internal audit. The way payments were audited 10 years back, it is just not possible to audit this way. You have to have the knowledge of information technology. Next point, information technology. Information technology is not only used for ERPs and finance accounts and all. It is also used in HR for HRMS applications, payroll applications, production process applications, inventory systems, logistics systems. There is in information technology across organizations. The example that I gave was for a manufacturing company. So that's why there's a need for internal auditors. Then there are stringent norms like regulators like SEBI to protect the shareholders and the investors. And lastly, but not the least, it is an increasing competitive environment. By increasing competitive environment, we mean, what we mean is that the competition is resulting into decrease in profits and all also. For example, a product which was sold for 100 rupees, now it can be sold for 90 rupees or 80 rupees. All the product prices are available online. It is not difficult to make a decision. Because of all these factors, internal audit is a must. Now, coming to risk-based internal audit, I'm not touching upon this area because Josefa will be touching upon it tomorrow. Do attend that; it would be very helpful. But I'll just take very in short. I will explain. A risk-based internal audit is planned on the severity of the risk and its impact on the overall company's objective. Why is risk-based internal audit required? But there are regulatory requirements by RBI, RDA, and SEBI. They require risk-based internal audits. Now, in the traditional audits, auditors were just assigned basis the gut feel or the knowledge of the auditor. But because of risk-based internal audit, we can effectively utilize the resources and time. Which area is high risk will have more resources and time. Which areas are medium risk or low risk will have low resources and time. So this helps in cost savings. Then lastly, but not the least, it makes internal audit very objective. Now we'll play a video on principles of internal audit.
Understanding the principles of internal audit. Governance involves accountability to stakeholders, risk-based decision-making, and seeking advice from an independent internal audit function. Governing body roles ensure the right structures, align objectives with stakeholder interests, and establish a competent, independent internal audit function. Management and first and second line roles focus on product and service delivery, with the second line providing additional expertise in risk management. Creating and protecting value means prioritizing stakeholder interests and ensuring reliable, clear, and transparent information for risk-based decisions. Third line independence is about the independence of internal audit from management, achieved through accountability to the governing body and freedom from bias or interference. Third line roles provide impartial assurance, employ systematic processes and expertise, and report their findings to both management and the governing body. Understanding the principles of internal audit.
Sorry about that. Just give me a second.
No, madam.
No, कुछ नहीं मैं स्क्रीन शेयर कर रही हूँ. वो मूव नहीं हो रहा था, कर्सर मूव नहीं हो रहा था. Yeah. Okay, sorry about that, guys. The principles of internal audit is based on the 3 lines of defense, which is formulated by the Institute of Internal Auditors and the Basel Committee. Now, the three lines of defense, basically, I will take in detail in the next slide. The three lines of defense basically are the first line of defense, the management, the second line of defense, the risk management and compliance, and third line of defense, internal auditors, followed by external auditors. This is the latest model which have been instituted by the Institute of Internal Auditors. If you see the governing body, the management and internal, there are arrows moving up and down. So what does this signify? This signifies that internal audit now cannot operate in solos. All the three lines of defense have to operate with each other. They have to talk to each other and they have to meet regularly and decide how should they go about for the audits. Now, what is this three lines of defense? The three lines of defense is a risk management framework used by organizations to manage and mitigate risk effectively. The Institute of Internal Auditors has played a significant role in popularizing the three lines of defense model and has published guidance notes and have published guidance notes and standards related to internal audit and risk management. So the first line of defense, what is the role of the first line of defense? The management, the senior management, the CXOs, the HODs, they actually run the business and they consist of operational business units within an organization. They're responsible for managing risk and identifying the risks within their day-to-day activities. Then coming to the second line of defense. The second line of defense basically is a risk management and compliance function. Now, they oversee and support the first line of risk management, and they are involved in setting policies, monitoring risk activities, and providing guidance. Then coming to the third line of defense, which is the internal audit function. Please note, this is an independently assessed. They independently assess the effectiveness of the first and second line of defense to ensure that the risks are managed and compliance requirements are met. The three lines have to work all in line with together, so that a strong risk management framework can be established within an organization. Now, coming to the very important discussion which we'll have now is how internal audit adds value to an organization. Internal audit adds value in many ways to achieve the overall objectives and improve the operations of the organization. Internal audit helps in regulatory compliances. Internal auditors are called to do legal compliance audits. Legal compliance audits, they could be for environmental laws, labor laws, Companies Act, GST, direct tax, and many other compliance. For example, even specialized compliances. For example, a manufacturing company may have to have manufacturing compliances, good manufacturing practices. Your pharma company will have pharma compliance, which is apart from whatever we discussed. Then internal audit also helps in fraud prevention and detection. It also helps in fraud risk assessments. Then comes corporate governance. By governance, we mean the system by which businesses are run and managed. And corporate governance also includes your senior management, your CXOs, your HODs, your board of directors. Internal audit also helps in achieving business goals and strategies. What business goals? Business goals could be achieving a profit margin of a particular percentage, or improving the top line, or improving the EBITDA, or strategies like employing more people if there are growth plans, further growth plans. Then internal audit also helps in cost reduction, by cost reduction in various areas. For example, let's say in a company, if the company wants to reduce its telephone expenses, mobile expenses, or traveling expenses, data analysts are called from consulting firms are appointed, and they analyze the data and give suggestions. Then internal audit also helps in continuous process improvements and in financial reporting. I'll just have water, 1 second. Sorry about that. Now, internal audit cycle and approach. Internal audit cycle. What is internal audit cycle? In some companies, it is quarterly, depending upon certain areas which are high risk. In some companies, it is half yearly or annually. Generally, or maybe every 4 months. The cycle will differ from company to company, nature of business, and in what kind of activities it is involved into. Now we will discuss the approach of internal audit. By approach, what do we mean? The way the internal audit process is carried out. The first important point, if you are an outsourced agency who's been appointed or an in-house department, you have, once planning is done, you have to meet the auditee, you have to meet the HOD, you have to meet the process owner to understand the business process and org structure. Because once you understand the business, you will be able to understand the process. And once you understand the process and org structure, you will be able to develop the audit program. Next is the internal auditor has to document the process, maybe in narrative form or flowcharts, and prepare an audit program and continuously update the two. The audit program basically consists of areas and aspects that will be audited along with the sampling plan. Next is, once this is decided, next is it will obtain data relevant to the scope of the period under review. This data that it obtains, it will understand, that is only after understanding of the process, the data can be obtained. Then data analysis is done based on sample testing, process understanding, and decisions. Now, this data analysis can be done with the help of CAD tools like IDEA ACL, wherein 100% of the data can be analyzed. And if you are not using CAD tools, even in Excel helps you to do a sampling on the sampling basis to do the audit. Next is documenting the preliminary observations. These preliminary observations are reviewed by the managers, senior managers. Once they are finalized, these preliminary observations have to be discussed with the process owners. Why they have to be discussed with the process owners? So that they have a buy-in. The suggestions are practical and are implementable. Once the process owners discuss and they accept the observations, or there are some changes in the observation because of a perspective of the process owner, then you have to prepare a draft report of observation recommendation. This observation recommendation has to be discussed with the HODs for their management comments. Once the management comments are received, they have to be discussed with the CEO, CFO. After which, the executive summary has to be prepared, and that has to be discussed with the audit committee wherever applicable. Organization of the internal audit function. Now, internal audit can be carried out by in-house staff. By in-house staff, we mean by the employees of the company who are in the internal audit department, not outside the internal audit department. Or it can be an outsourced team, or maybe or it may follow a co-sourcing approach. It may be an outsourced team, maybe it's given to a big four or a mid-sized CA firm. Or it may follow a co-sourcing approach. 50% may be in-house and 50% may be outsourced. Now, this organization of internal depends on what factors? It depends on business of the organization. For example, if the business is secretive in nature, or there are patents which are filed for that particular business, then you will prefer to have an internal audit in-house so that the secrets are not leaked out. A secretive business also can be the Army and Navy. Internal audit of those, that is basically done in-house. Then coming to geographical locations. By geographical locations, we mean not only in India, but even abroad. So there are two ways to handle this. Either you have an internal audit department in-house at the head office, which may be in India or US, or who will travel all over the world, or you may outsource it to a firm which has got presence in India, or it is or global presence. Then it also depends on culture of the organization. By culture of the organization, we mean the in-house promoters who have an open culture, or it may be a closed culture, being a traditionally managed company. So if it's an open culture, then promoters may prefer to have an external internal auditor. And if it's a traditional business management is not very open-minded, then they may have an in-house department. Then organization also depends on the cost. By cost, why we say cost? Because it is generally noticed that if in-house internal auditors are appointed, it becomes a little costly because they have to travel, and the cost of that and the cost of travel may be there. But in case of outsourced internal audit, if it's spread over all over India, then the local auditors can visit the location, the office which is being under audit. Then it also depends on management, board of directors, and audit committee. Then it also depends upon regulations governing the organization. What are the regulations governing the IRDA, SEBI, RBI? They have a mixed ruling in terms of internal audit. Now coming to internal audit, whether it's a mandatory under Companies Act. Internal audit is mandatory for companies specified in the Rule 13(1) of the Company Account Rules 2014 as mentioned below. Every listed entity in the NSE or the BSE stock exchange have to have an internal audit function irrespective of its turnover. Then every unlisted public company satisfying any of the following conditions will require to have an internal audit. whose turnover is more than 200 crores or 200 crores during the preceding financial year will require internal audit in the subsequent financial year. Then comes the outstanding loans and borrowings from public financial institutions and banks, which is about 100 crores or exceeding 100 crores at any point of time during the preceding financial year will require to have an internal audit in the subsequent financial year. If the paid up share capital of the company is 50 crore or more during the preceding financial year, will require internal audit in the subsequent financial year. Then coming to outstanding deposits which are taken, which are about 25 crores or more at any point during the preceding financial year will require to have an internal audit in the subsequent financial year. Now, this was for unlisted public companies satisfying the below conditions. Now we come to every private limited company satisfying the following conditions. A private limited company having a turnover of 200 crores or more during the preceding financial year will require to have internal auditor in the subsequent financial year. Or outstanding loans, borrowings from public financial institutions or banks exceeding 100 crores or more at any point during the preceding financial year will require to have internal audit in the subsequent financial year. Now, what are the qualifications of the internal audit as prescribed by Companies Act? According to Section 38(1) of the Companies Act, the companies who are required to appoint internal audit needs to appoint an internal auditor. The section further says that the qualification of the internal auditor can be a chartered accountant, whether engaged in practice or not, or a cost accountant, whether engaged in practice or not. Any other professional like a company secretary or MBA or PGDM can also be appointed as an internal auditor as decided by the board. It has to be approved by the board. Next is further as per explanation of Rule 13 of the Companies Act, even an employee of the company can become the internal auditor or can be also appointed as an internal auditor. Now coming to duties of the internal auditor. Notably, the Companies Act doesn't prescribe any duties of the internal auditor. It may be governed by mutually decided terms between the board and the internal auditor. The duties of internal auditor are immense. It's a very large list. I've covered only few points here in this presentation. The first duty is to analyze the risk of the company and bring it to the notice of the management. It has to analyze where the risk is, what are the weaknesses in various departments, what are the high risk, medium risk, and low risk departments. It has to bring it to the notice of the management. Then it also has to gather and analyze all the relevant data. It has to gather this data, analyze the data. There are data scientists who are being appointed specifically to look into the data. Data is huge. Data is the call today, is day of the need today. Then coming to evaluate and analyze policies of the organization, suggest necessary improvements. Internal auditor has to evaluate and analyze policies. If the policies are being followed, well and good, but if the policies are not being followed, the internal auditor is supposed to analyze whether there is any difficulty in implementing the policy, or if it is not practical or it's very theoretical. So it has to suggest changes. Then check and analyze compliances. All the regulatory compliances, it has to check and analyze. It has to do legal compliance audits. We've discussed earlier about this legal compliance audits. Then it also has to check and verify accuracy of the financial data and financial reports whenever it is called for, to review the MIS whenever it is called for. Now, appointment of the internal auditor. The procedure for appointment is highlighted here under a written consent. The company has to obtain a written consent and a certificate from the proposed internal auditor stating that if he is appointed, his eligibility for appointment as an internal auditor will be as per provisions of the Companies Act. Then the company has to issue a notice for calling a board meeting for the appointment of the internal auditor and also fixing the remuneration thereof. Then the meeting of the board meeting is held, wherein the appointment of the internal auditor is discussed and the remuneration thereof with other matters. Then after the appointment of the internal auditor, the directors have to authorize the company secretary or any other the chairman has to authorize the company secretary or any other director to sign and file the relevant form for appointment of the internal auditor with the ROC. Then the draft minutes are to be prepared and circulated within 15 days of completion of the board meeting to all the directors for their valuable comments. Then after the minutes are circulated, so once the minutes are approved, the company has to file the certified copy of the board resolution within 30 days of passing the board resolution. Then last but not the least, it has to issue an appointment letter to the appointed internal auditor. Yeah, now coming to scope of internal, what will you check? See, the scope of the internal audit is not specified in Companies Act or in the company's rules. But as per Rule 13.2 of the Company Account Rules 2014, the audit committee of the company, the board together with the internal auditor, has to formulate the scope, periodicity, functioning, and methodology for conducting the internal audit of the company. The scope for software company, for the company. Now, we've taken an example of scope for a software, for an IT company or a software company, which is a service company. So what will be under the scope? Of course, all these areas which you all can see, they will not have to be done within 3 months. Some important areas will be taken in the first quarter, then the subsequent quarters, it would be taken up. So what is the scope for a IT company or a software company? The first would be revenue and billing, then finance and accounts, human resources, payroll, statutory compliances, sales and marketing, delivery, administration and purchases. These are the departments which have to be audited in a IT company. I've just taken an example. I will not go into the depth of it because the purpose of the discussion is not that. Now coming to penalty for non-compliance with internal audit provisions. The Companies Act doesn't specify any penalty for non-compliance. However, there is a general penalty prescribed under Section 450, which has to be levied as given below. First is the company and every officer of the company or any such other person in default is liable to pay a penalty of rupees 10,000. Then, in case of continuing contravention, an additional penalty of 1,000 per day up to a maximum of 2 lakhs in case of company and up to a maximum of 50,000 in case of an officer in default has to be levied. Now, what will happen if there is no internal audit? If there is no internal audit, then such a company may lack effectiveness in risk management, internal control, and governance processes. Now, what are the board and management expectations from internal audit? This is one of the important discussions that we will have today. Now, expectations of internal audit varies from organization to organization, differs from business to business. It depends on the size of the organization, the industry, the complexity of the operations. The board of directors and senior management are responsible for governance in the organization. We've seen earlier by corporate governance, we mean is a system by which businesses are directed and controlled. Now, what are the expectations from internal audit by the board of directors and senior management? First is independence and objectivity. Now, the board and the management wants the internal auditor to be independent. It cannot be a part of the finance accounts department. It is seen in many companies, internal auditor reports to the CFO, but it is not the correct thing to do because it may be prejudiced or biased towards the finance accounts department. Then internal audit has to be objective. It cannot be subjective. Just because you don't like a person or you have ego hassles with a person, you cannot give a subjective report. It has to have an objective mind while giving a report. Then comes risk assessment and mitigation. The board expects the internal auditor to assess the risk, prepare the controls, and prepare mitigation plans. Next is compliance. They also expect internal auditors to do legal compliance audits. We've seen earlier the RBI for banks and NBFCs, insurance, IRDA, who governs the insurance companies, your environmental laws, labor laws, your Companies Act, your direct tax, GST, and all that. Then it also expects internal auditors to do a control assessment to assess controls and give suggestions for improvements if there are weak internal controls. Then it also expects process improvements. By process improvement, we not only do the finance accounts area, but also the non-financial areas, maybe a manufacturing process in a manufacturing company, maybe the customer satisfaction in a retail industry. Those process improvements it has to suggest. Then comes fraud prevention and detection. Internal auditor also has to be able to prevent frauds and detect frauds. It also has to participate in fraud risk assessments. Yeah, but there is a school of thought which says that fraud investigations and internal audit should be separate functions. Yes, in large organizations, but in smaller organizations, it may be difficult to do that. Then continuous improvements. Internal auditor also suggests continuous improvements. Next is adapting to change, very important. The basis, whatever regulations come in, the internal auditor has to adapt to changes. For example, recently the IRDA has come up with cybersecurity guidelines. All insurance companies have to follow. So it has to adapt to the recent regulations. Last but not the least is the ethical conduct. The internal auditor has to be ethical and honest with highest amount of integrity. Yeah, this is a very interesting slide. What do stakeholders, we discussed what the audit committee and the board expects from internal audit. Now we'll discuss about what the stakeholders expect from internal audit. First is the process owners, the auditee themselves. They want genuine observations. They don't want observations to be copied from the previous report, or they don't want theoretical observations which are just given for the heck of it. Then next is they want you to understand the process. If you don't understand the process, if you don't understand the business, you will not be able to give genuine observations. You will give theoretical observations. Then very important, which many people lack, is listening to their point of view. It is very important to listen to the auditee's point of view, especially if the auditee has been there longer in the organization. Yeah, I do understand that auditee may have ego problems, but you have to manage through your communication skills and to convince the process owner. Then process owners also expect practical suggestions. Last but not the least, expectation of the process owner is appreciation for good work done. This is very, very important. You have to put in the internal audit report if any good work is done by the process owner, so that they feel motivated. Next is the HOD and the CXOs and the MD. Now, the HOD CXO also expects a lot from internal audit. They want value addition impacting the business. They don't want just theoretical suggestions. They want a summarized format. They want an executive summary. They don't want a 100-page report which just goes on and on in a theoretical manner. Then they also want us to cover the overall risk assessment. By risk assessment, we mean you are assessing the risk and giving suggestions for controls and improvements. Then fair representation. They should do a fair presentation. They should not be biased to a particular person or to a particular department. Then root cause analysis, very important. The auditor has to go to the root cause. The root cause could be a person may be newly joined, may not be aware of the complete process, may have joined 2-3 months back. You have to have that you attitude. Just imagine if you are an auditee and the auditor comes and audit your department, how would you feel if the person is not understanding your viewpoint? Then process owners have to have that acceptance of the internal auditor. And last but not the least, implementation status. The implementation of the internal, whatever the post-implementation review is required to be done after the audit is completed in the next quarter, should be reviewed by the internal auditors. We have seen what do stakeholders expect from the board and audit committee. We will not repeat here again. Then what is the statutory auditor? See, statutory auditor as per the CARO, in the audit annual report, they're supposed to comment on whether the internal audit is commensurate to the size and nature of the business. So they will, so one important more point, whenever you are preparing a plan for internal audit, ensure that it is discussed with the statutory auditor so that the work can be divided in large organizations. Of course, statutory auditor will also do sampling and will audit the areas which you have done, but at least the sample size can be reduced. So statutory auditors expect overall coverage. Then they want issues which affect the true and fair view of the accounts. They also want the statutory non-compliances to be highlighted. They want an assurance which can be relied on. And they want a comfort which can help them make a proper assessment and save their time. So these are the requirements by the stat auditors. Now we'll discuss about what are the prerequisites for internal audit. Now, many people may be in a job which doesn't, in an internal audit job, it doesn't require traveling. But traveling is very important for internal audit. So let's assume you are in a job for since 2-3 years and you have no travel. But let's say after 2-3 years you join a larger organization and join a MNC or a larger organization, then you have, and that organization is located all over India in different cities and abroad, you will have to travel. Many females miss that point. Then command over English, report writing skills is very important. Even a session will be taken in this symposium. Then good oral communication skills. By good oral communication skills, we mean the English speaking skills. But you may come across a situation where the auditee is comfortable in the regional language. So if you have a regional auditor who can communicate in that regional language, it will also help. Then comes excellent PPT, Word and Excel skills. Now, excellent PPT, Word and Excel skills may not be required because there are a lot of tools which have come out which automatically prepares report in PPT, Word and Excel. Then is good presentation skills. The chief audit executive have to make a presentation to the audit committee and the board. So the person has to have good presentation skills. Then in coming to characteristics of internal auditor, the characteristics, the one important characteristic, it has to maintain confidentiality. By confidentiality means they should not discuss about the company, the observations in the company with their friends or relatives. Then the internal auditor also has to be objective and independent, should have an impartial attitude, should be unbiased or unprejudiced, should maintain high amount of integrity, should have the skills and competence to do the internal audit, and should also be a professional. And last but not the least, a lot of common sense and creativity. Now we will discuss what are the courses available for the internal audit profession. The first is the international certifications. Which are the international certifications available? One is Certified Internal Audit Exam, which is conducted by the IIA.org USA. Next is CRMA, which is conducted by IIA.org USA. Then Certified Information Systems Audit Exam, CISA, which is by the ISACA in the US. Then comes your Certified Fraud Examiner. You see SCFE exam, which is conducted again by the CFE Institute in the USA. Then there are training courses available for certification courses available for CAD tools like ACL IDEA. Then ERP courses like Oracle, SAP, JD Edwards, Navision, Microsoft, and all that. Then what are the institute's initiatives in this area? The institute's initiatives in this area basically is they come up with certification courses in internal audit, ERM, and forensics and fraud. For example, the Symposium. This is also an ICSI very good initiative that Chintan has taken. Then comes standards of audit, which are mandatory in nature. Then comes standards of internal audit, which are recommendatory in nature. Then others are the accounting standards, IFRS, guidance notes. Then comes the technical guides. They are wonderful. There are some 3 to 4 technical guides available at the institute, at BKC and other locations. They are wonderful. You all should refer to these. These guides are for pharma industry, retail industry, hospitals, risk-based internal audit, many more such topics. Then comes your DISA exam, Information Systems Audit exam, and e-learning courses. Then what are the Indian studies apart from CA? The Companies Act itself mentioned that a cost accountant can be apart from a chartered accountant, can be an internal auditor. But even a CS or a MCOM, MBA, PGM can be an internal auditor, but it has to be approved by the board as per Companies Act. Now, what are the example of assignments that can be done by internal auditors? The first one is enterprise-wide risk management. The internal auditor can prepare a risk register, can do an ERM framework for the organization. By ERM framework, what does it mean? It has meetings with each department, document the risk, document the control, document the mitigation plan in the risk register. Then comes operational review, process review. Not only the finance accounts audit internal auditors can do, but they can also review the operations. Let's say in a manufacturing company, the manufacturing operations, production operations. In a pharma company, the sales operations, it can review that also. Then comes information systems audit. By information systems audit, we mean application review, ISO 27001, then VAPT, PCI DSS, then ITGC controls. All these can be done by internal auditors. Then fraud investigation. Internal auditors can also be effective fraud investigators. Then the internal auditors can also do legal compliance audits. There are specialized companies who do only legal compliance audits. Then concurrent audits for banks can be done. Then what is branch audits and loan file inciting? Internal auditors can also do branch audits. So branches for NBFCs and insurance companies are spread all over India. So those branch audits can be done. Then loan file inciting. What is loan file inciting? Review of loan files, especially for NBFCs, wherein they give loans. So those files, the KYC checks, the documentation requirements, all the relevant agreements are checked in loan file inciting. Then coming for IFC and Sarbanes-Oxley. IFC, there are 4 requirements: SOPs, entity level controls, ITGC controls, and your process controls. IFC is required for India, and Sarbanes-Oxley are required for companies, listed companies in the US and its subsidiaries which are outside US. Then internal auditors can also check compliances with LODR regulations, which is framed by SEBI. Then internal auditors can also set controls for ERP implementations and can also give automation opportunities. Then review of policies and procedures. Internal auditors can also review policy procedures and suggest improvements. Then internal auditors can also check adherence to standard operating procedures and documenting standard operating procedures. This is a very small list. Internal auditors can do a lot more also if the management keeps its eyes and ears open. Now we'll discuss professional opportunities in internal audit. Now, this professional opportunities in internal audit and the previous slide that we have discussed, example of assignments that can be done by internal auditor, there may be an overlap in my discussion, but it is important. There are some new points also in this slide. Now, internal audit, of course, can be a part of the internal audit department in an organization or in a firm, maybe big 4 or mid-sized firm. Now, internal audit function, the internal auditor will start as a fresher. Now, as a fresher, the internal auditor has to understand the business, has to understand the process, prepare the audit program, prepare the audit plan with the help of the assistant manager, manager, or senior manager. The assistant manager, senior manager have to train the juniors and the executives and the officers. They have to review the reports. They have to guide the juniors to prepare the reports and have to review the reports. Then comes your middle management, your vice presidents, your assistant vice presidents, and your senior vice presidents. They are a link between the juniors and the CAE. The VP, the senior VP, they report to the chief audit executive. Then coming to the chief audit executive, they are responsible for entire functioning of the internal audit department, and they report to the audit committee or the board of directors, and they are responsible for strategy of the internal audit. Then coming the IT auditor, we've discussed in the previous slide, the application review and ISO 27001 and all that. Then risk manager, the risk management frameworks or the risk registers. 4th is the data. Then they can also get into as a data auditor or a data analyst or a data scientist. This is picked up in the last 3-4 years. Data has become the need of the day. Data is very important. You have seen so many frauds that are taking place in IT systems because the data is leaked. Then internal auditor can also be a compliance manager in the compliance department. Then they can also be industry experts in maybe manufacturing, retail, hospitality, hospitals, audit. They can, because they have gained experience throughout the years. Then coming to academic and training roles, internal auditor can also become teachers in professional institutes or colleges. Then as years pass by and they gain experience, they can also become an audit committee member or audit committee chairman. Last but not the least, they can become an entrepreneur. They can start their own consulting firm covering all these areas that we have discussed. Now we have seen what value addition internal auditors can have. Now we will discuss some few observations, internal audit observations, which are a value add to the organization. Please note this is just a sample list. First is finance and accounts. In finance and accounts, making cash payments to fictitious vendors. There is a possibility of misappropriation of cash if there is no maker checker. Then comes duplicate payments. How duplicate payments? The original invoice is not attached. The carbon copy is attached. The Xerox copy is attached, which can be a color Xerox. Then coming to sales, higher discounts given to customers, which is not as per policy. Then cash discounts given, but the amount is credited late. Then sales incentives being shared by few people on the top. There may be basis the performance of the company, the sales incentives will be given. But the sales head may be told, that you have to distribute basis the performance. But there could be partiality, and they could, by few persons on the top, can take the sales incentive of a higher amount. Then commission paid to DSA by customers for loan sanction. Next is procurement, kickback from vendors to be favored. This is a very, in fact, today only it came in that TCS removed some HR people because of the kickbacks that they got from the consulting firms. Then advances paid to HR consulting firms, I mean. Then advances paid to vendors and adjusted against the invoice. Then cash and bank. Cash expenses of very high amounts, supportings are not strong. They may be manipulated supportings or false supportings. Then BRS not given for all banks, especially non-operative banks. BRS is not prepared. Then HR payroll. In HR payroll, we can see ghost employees or payment of salary to resigned employees. I'll give an example, a payment to salary to resigned employees. In my earlier company, we had an e-governance function wherein the juniors were fresh graduates who were appointed. So when they left, the manager used to take their debit cards and their ATM pin and was not informing the head office that there are resigned employees. So whenever the salaries were being credited because the HO was not informed, then this money was being withdrawn by the manager. It's only when he left, the observation was come to light. Then claim for overtime for hours not worked. Then travel desk, pocketing of forex payments in cash. Then salary advance paid in India, not recovered in foreign country when the consultant goes abroad. So these are the sample value added internal audit observations that we have. So I would like to thank you for a patient hearing. We will have a discussion on all the questions that have been put in the question box. And I will request Mishra ji, whoever raises hand, Mishra ji will unmute you. You ask a question and then he will mute you. Now, Chintan, do you want to say anything? Okay, I'll just go to the question answers box. Will we get the recording? Yeah, Institute will in the WIRC website will have not the presentation, the recording would be there. The next question is, which is better, CI or CRMA? See, CI is basically for internal audit. So they two are very different and their requirements are the contents is very different. If you are an internal auditor in a company, a CI will help you. But if you do CRMA, it will help you to get the theoretical perspective of the risk also. So I wouldn't say which is better. If you are in the internal audit profession, if you do both, it would help. But yeah, if you are in internal audit, a CI will be definitely be a value add. Okay, Varsha has asked me, will you share this PPT? Okay, I'll share this PPT. Just my email ID is given in the website of RISPRO. You can write to me, I'll share with you. Next question. How can we start data analytics? Is there any course other than ICI, WIRC? Yeah, you can definitely do these courses. You can go to ACL website or the IDEA website. They have courses and also you can do those data analytics courses. Okay, let me see. There are one more question. Let me scroll. The question is from Vasudha. Who is the reporting authority for 3 lines of defense? How to identify kickbacks? First question, who is the reporting authority for 3 lines of defense? See, the 3 lines of defense have to operate all 3 together. And the reporting authority would be the audit committee chairman or the board of directors. Now, and of course, the 3 lines of defense have to work together. Then how to identify kickbacks? Yeah, it is a little difficult to identify kickbacks, but what can be done if you have got some tip, either through whistleblowing or through any other employee that a person is accepting kickbacks, you can send any other person, whose phone on the phone or maybe a personal visit who will not be recognized by the person accepting kickback. The person can just talk, bato mein na, he or she can ask indirectly. So these are called mystery shopping audits in insurance companies, banks, and NBFCs. Do you all have any other questions? I'll just see in the chat. Let's see what people have written in the chat. There are a lot of things in the chat. Let's see. Swapnil is asking, can some member clarify if this session is eligible for structured CP or unstructured CPRs? No, dear. This symposium is not having CPRs or unstructured CPRs. Unstructured that needs to be claimed after end of series. Can somebody raise the hand and tell me, because this person Yash Tulsija has written unstructured that needs to be claimed after the end of series. No, I don't think so. Unstructured CPRs also are there. Now the next question is, as an internal auditor, how he can verify kickbacks unless he's doing a forensic? Yeah, I do agree to a certain extent. It also depends on the personality of the internal auditor. A person who's an introvert, maybe not have enough confidence, will not be able to verify the kickbacks that are there. Only a person who's smart enough and who can manipulate questions can analyze this area. Okay, next question is from Bhargav. Can you suggest some software for tracking audit things? Yeah, so there are a couple of softwares. RiskPro has these softwares. You can get in touch with us. Basically, these softwares, they start from planning to organizing the internal audit, collecting working papers, preparing the audit program, preparing the report, documenting the observations, preparing the report. So the entire workflow management is taken care by this software. Okay, there's a question by Ekant. Can you please elaborate on the process of undergoing a CIA exam? Well, I did my CIA in 2006, which was a paper pencil exam. Now these are online exams. So if you Google if you are from Mumbai, you can, not only Mumbai, sorry. You can Google II India and you will get all the rules and regulations and the phone number of the concerned person who will guide you for the CIA exam, because now it is a online exam. There's next question by Charudita. How to identify a risk? Does it based on person understanding of the specific business process? Yes, it does depend on the person's business process, because if you don't understand the business, you will not know what is the risk. Can we get some sample reports? Sorry, that's not possible because these are confidential and we have signed an NDA with the client. Next is by Yash. Is there any internal audit software for reporting? Yeah, so our software can help you for reporting also. Okay, Priyanka has written, this is very important for everybody to note. Members may claim CP credit as unstructured learning, and it can be claimed by submitting declaration online on the CP portal of ICA after conclusion of the webinar. It is mentioned in the mail having webinar joining link. Oh, Priyanka, I'm so thankful to you. Thanks a lot for clarifying for benefit of all the members. I'm really sorry I wasn't aware of this because I've joined as a panelist. Next question by Santosh, which software you are referring to? It's an internal audit management software from RiskPro partner actually. Okay, Nidhi has given very good information that you can claim unstructured anytime for this particular webinar till December for entire year. Then Ravish, third-party software may have confidentiality issue if NDA has signed. No, I didn't get this question. Can you raise your hand so Mishra ji can unmute you? Yeah, Ravish, can you raise your hand so that... See, your question is third-party software may have confidentiality issue if NDA has signed. See, third-party software, you're talking about the internal, I think you're talking about the internal audit software. The internal audit software will be on premise, will be installed on your company's server, and you will give access to it to all the internal auditors and the HODs, to give their management comments and all. So I really don't understand how it will have a confidentiality in issue. We have more questions. So Nidhi has asked a question: how to start with internal audit? I mean, where to start? You mean to say to start as a career? If you want to start as a career, then you have to start with a smaller. If you've never done internal audit, you'll have to start with a smaller firm. Large firm directly will not take you. So you start with a smaller firm, do small internal audits, and then you can grow in that same firm. And after 2-3 years, when you have gained experience, you can join a mid-sized firm or a bigger firm. There's one question that we have got. Getting read access to ERPs and other software of the entities is a big headache, and many organizations do not provide. The integrity of data shared by the auditee is always questioned in the absence of such access. No, but if it's read-only access, obviously, it will be read-only. You cannot have edit access to the software. To the ERP. You have to have read-only access. And I don't understand why the integrity of data shared by the auditee is always questionable in absence. There is no question of integrity being impacted. Integrity of data being impacted. I don't think so. Then for SMEs listing, is it compulsory to do internal audit? SME listing, small, medium, okay. Okay. Now, I've discussed in the previous slide, internal auditors are required by private limited companies or by public companies. In case of private limited companies, if the turnover is exceeding 200 crores or if loans or borrowings are exceeding 100 crores. So then only it is required, but not in case of SMEs. And of course, in case of public companies where the criteria of the share capital and loans and advances and your turnover, if that is crossed, then it is required in a private limited company, in a public company, sorry. Yes, there's a question from Jigisha whether internal audit is compulsory for SME listed companies. Yes, internal audit is compulsory for SME listed companies. But even if it's a small company, it is applicable because it is listed. Any more questions anybody has? Okay, I just discussed one point for edit access and read access to ERP. The person, Praveen has written, we are not asking for edit access, but read access only. Even that is that is wrong. Then you should escalate to the senior management or the board of directors. You should escalate it. Read-only access of the TRP is very important. Otherwise, how will you know what are the controls that have been built in the software? Please escalate. Any other questions anybody has? The whole purpose of keeping this presentation small was because it's a very a little bit of dry topic. So I decided to take more of question answers than to give a presentation of 2 hours, Any other questions anybody has? मिश्रा जी, आपको मेरी आवाज सुनाई दे रही है?
हाँ मैडम, आपकी आवाज आ रही है, प्लस मैं इनको पैनलिस्ट को भी अंदर एंट्री कर रहा हूँ।
सॉरी, पैनलिस्ट को क्या कर रहे हैं? अच्छा, आप ही क्वेश्चंस फॉरवर्ड कर रहे हैं क्या मुझे?
नहीं, उनको अटेंडी में से पैनलिस्ट में ले रहा हूँ मैं उनको।
अच्छा।
Hello.
Yeah, who's this?
Yeah, I'm Jigisha here.
Yeah,
My next question is, if the holding company is fall under the internal audit criteria, then all subsidiaries are must for the internal audit?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, subsidiaries are a must for internal audit if the holding company is a listed entity.
Okay, and if they do the joint ventures or something, then they provide the limited data, then what is to be done?
No, but then you should escalate to the management. You should escalate to the board of directors, the audit committee chairman. You should escalate to the HOD, the senior management, whoever is the concerned person, to whom the chief audit executive reports to.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, welcome. Okay, there's a question from Mayur Kumar. What should be the approach in case of matured organizations? See, the approach for matured organization, I'm very sure it would be an IT intensive organization. It will have a lot of IT systems and all. So you have to have that knack to understand the IT interfaces and all that. So you have to audit the controls in the IT system. So that approach should be followed for mature organizations. Okay, there's a question from Pravurti Shah. There is a question in chat box which even I have. At what scale does it make sense for any firm to use internal audit software? What factors to consider other than cost? Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense for a smaller organization. If you're a team of 3 to 4 members, it doesn't add much value. If it's only a large team, 15, 20 members, a lot of departments, a lot of HODs, so then it makes sense to have a audit software, but definitely not for small companies. And what factors to consider other than cost? Yeah, the size of the organization, the size of the department. For example, like ICICI Bank probably has 200 to 300 auditors, and they also use a software for the audit. So in such large organizations, internal audit software becomes must, because otherwise emails keep moving back and forth. And you don't know which, and even the versions keep changing. You don't know which is the latest version of the report. हाँ मिश्रा जी, और एक और क्वेश्चन आया है. Can you recommend any publication or books to find real life internal audit case studies in India? Yeah, I have those books at my place. One book is of Deepji Singhal. He's written 2-3 books for internal audit case studies in India. Then Institute's technical guide is there for risk-based internal audit, but there are no case studies in that. I can recall only books by Deepji Singhal and Manish Pipalia. Even I think so, BCA has also written a book, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, BCA is also having a book. Bombay Chartered Accounting Society. Okay. One very good question from Vasudha. Can we use apps like ChatGPT for reporting purposes? See, you may use ChatGPT to give you ideas on how to report, but definitely you can't copy paste the reports from there to your company, because each company is different, each area is different. So you can use for giving you ideas, but definitely not copying the observations and all. Okay, the question earlier that was asked to me was for a listed entity. That if a listed entity is required to do internal audit, whether subsidiary is required to do internal audit. Now there's a question by Prajakta. If holding company is private limited and it's covered under internal audit eligibility criteria, then the holding company subsidiary is required to do internal audit. This I will have to come back to you, Prajakta. Anybody has an answer to this can raise the hand, and Mishra ji can unmute. I'll get back to you on this, Prajakta. You can write my email ID is given under RISPRO website under Mumbai section. You can drop me a mail and I'll reply to you. Then Mayur Kumar has written, over a period of time, in case of matured organization which have improved processes to a great extent, then in such a situation, how to come up with an audit? Yeah, even sorry, I didn't finish the question. In such a situation, how to come up with audit observation? Yeah, so even I faced a problem in my earlier company 15 years back. So in the first 2-3 years, there were a lot of observations, but later on, it became difficult to get observations, in ways. So it is not only important to give negative observations, you can also give positive observations, and you can come up with new ideas after having a brainstorming sessions with the audit committee and the board of directors. One more thing, Mayur Kumar, you can have a word with the stat auditors, of that particular company, because stat auditors, they audit from a different perspective. And if you consider their perspective, then you will definitely come up with new areas to audit and new audit observations. Okay, Prajakta, I'm just typing my email ID. Rita.s@rispro.in. Yeah, I've written my email ID in the chat. It's rita.s@rispro.in. Mishra ji, anybody had 1 minute? There are more questions. 1 minute, Mishra ji. Oh God, 1 minute, Okay, Nidhi is asking, can you discuss some serious cases you have found while doing audit? Oh yeah, lots of them. Like once I was auditing an IT company and they used to send consultants abroad. So so they used to give $2,000 as salary advance in India, and that salary advance was not adjusted after the employee reached US after 1 or 2 months. So the employee also did not say that his salary advance is not deducted from the salary that he's got in the US. So that was a revenue leakage. Then other revenue leakage was that which I discussed earlier. There was a collusion between the procurement department and the payment department. The procurement department used to give purchase orders. Used to give faulty purchase orders, and the payment department used to have colored, means looking original invoices and all, colored invoices and all, and it used to make it used to do a two-way match for services. You could not do it for manufacturing, because you also have to have a GRN. You have to have a collusion with the stores person also. So these invoices, they were colored invoices. You couldn't make out that they were not original, and they had a collusion, and these invoices were being paid. So that was a revenue leakage in the company. Then there are more questions. Yeah, so Ekant has a question. When we say that internal auditor can also do compliance audits, in that case, he should be aware of all laws applicable on the particular company. Say in case of a retail showroom, retail showroom or retail, actually you mean by retail showroom, legal metrology act is applicable. Being a CA, how can we comment on the compliance level of such laws which are out of our main door? Very good question. I 100% agree with you. So in our company also, when we do legal compliance audits, everybody doesn't know. There are only 2 people who know legal compliance audits in our company, and they do they are specialists in legal compliance audit, and they only do the legal compliance audits. You will have to specialize in this area. A CA having a background about if a CA is doing OTC, P2C, cash, treasury, stores, inventory, production, or they may not be able to do the stat compliance audit because it's a lot. There is a lot to cover. So you have to appoint specialists for this. Namita has a question. How internal audit is different from SOX? So Namita, I don't know whether you've done IFC. So IFC, which is the Indian requirement, and SOX, they are 80-90% similar. And internal audit is different from SOX. In internal audit, basically, you have various observations that you find for cost savings or for process improvements or process inefficiencies. Where in case in an IFC or a SOC audit, you have to see whether the controls are existing or not. And how will you check the controls? You will check the controls basis on the process, the frequency of the process. In case of IFC, if the frequency is, let's say, of a particular process is, let's say, quarterly, you have to check 3 to 4 quarters ka sample. If the frequency of that particular process is half yearly, you will select only 1 sample. And if the frequency is daily, you will select 25 to 45 samples. If the frequency is weekly, you will select 7 to 8 weeks. Now, I'm talking about IFC. So basis the sample that you select, you will come to a conclusion whether controls are there or not. So in internal audit, you concentrate on cost savings, you concentrate on efficiencies, improvement in the process, a little bit of fraud investigations also. But in IFC, on SOX, you concentrate on control, whether the controls exist or not. Yeah, in IFC and SOX, it is very difficult to comment on process inefficiencies or frauds and all. The purposes are different for both. Rushang has a question. If we are doing audit, production function or manufacturing company to understand the process, what is the sample size we have to select to get a better idea of it? So if you're doing an audit or production function of a manufacturing company to understand the process, see the sample that it all depends upon the population. The sample will, depending upon what sampling methodology or you follow. So you can select about 15 to 20% and then see the observations. If the observations are negative, then you have to increase your sample size. Okay, next question by Rushang only. Is there any sample tool can we use for inventory management? See, a lot of sampling methodology is explained in the Institute of Internal Auditors book. The IA.org USA, they have internal audit manuals for the internal audit exam. Very beautifully, the sampling methodologies have been explained in that particular book. Now, if you want a tool, then yeah, IDEA and ACL can help you for selecting samples for inventory management, or it can help you for any other area, not only in case of inventory management. You can go to IDEA ACL or you can go to the IA book also to select samples. Maybe if you can't afford IDEA or ACL, you can use Excel for sampling by referring the IA magazine, IA book, the manual, IA manual. Okay, next by Atish Sarle, explain what is required to perform an internal audit. You require a lot of common sense and application of mind, and because it is a creative function, it is not something like your finance account, which is basis the US gaps or Ind AS, you have to do the accounting. You have to have a creative bent of mind for internal audit. Next is okay, people are writing thank you. Thanks to you all. Next, oh, in question answers, there are 24 questions now. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I have one question from Mayur Kumar. I just want to add on this. Over a period of time, in case of matured organizations have improved process to a great extent, then in such situation, how to come? Maybe the internal audit department will have to be reduced in size. Maybe some people can be transferred to other departments where their interest lies, in operations or in if it's a manufacturing company, into stores or customer service, wherever their interest lies, they can be shifted to other departments if there are no internal audit observations. Okay. One more question from Mayur Kumar. How do you deal with clients to get prompt response to data that you have requested? Yeah, this is a problem with every company. It's a problem which even I face. Getting prompt data, you have to follow up. That is the only way out, and you have to give deadlines. So the kickoff meeting that you have, in that kickoff meeting, you decide which department will be done, what date and all. You decide who will be the people who will do the audit. The data request will be given by which date the data will have to be received. All the dates have to be decided. Then document all this in a mail so that the HOD, the head of the department, and your chief audit executive is aware of. That's how you, and then you have to follow up with the concerned person. And if you're still not getting after follow up also, you have to escalate to the HOD of the process owner or the HOD of that particular department. Still not happening, then please escalate to your CAE, your chief audit executive, or your senior person. Next question. If we are doing the audit of manufacturing company, is there any sample calculator for production department, quality control department, procurement, inventory management? See, this would differ from company to company. It would differ from what is a manufacturing process. There would be specialized tools definitely available for this, but this would differ from company to company, and you have to Google for it, for such tools. I'm not aware of such tools which are there. Okay. Good question by Pravruti Shah. She's written, the example that you mentioned between collusion between payment and purchase department, what is the recommendation on the same? Basically, what is the control mechanism for ensuring no duplicate invoices are booked for services? The other thing that can happen, like how in a manufacturing company, there's a three-way match, there's a GRN, there can be an intermediary document for the work completion certificate. That work completion certificate has to be signed by the HOD who has appointed the concerned person for that particular work. This is what I can think of. Yeah, so another question by Ravish. To what extent we can rely on third-party software since it may contain details and have confidentiality issue for clients' data? Yeah, so wherever we have sold the internal audit software of a partner, we have sold on premise. On premise means on their server. We have not sold it on the cloud because of confidentiality of the data. Clients are not comfortable to take the internal audit software on cloud they generally take it on premise on the server of that particular company. Okay, Prajakta has a question. Can you please tell about risk control matrix, how it is prepared, and what factors you consider while preparing RCM? See, risk control matrix have to be prepared in liaison with the department HOD of that particular department. You cannot prepare it on your own. You have to have a meeting with the department, the various people in that department. You write down, understand from him what are the risks in his or her function. Once you document the risk, document what controls he's having for those risks. Once you document the controls, and if the particular control is, I mean, if a fraud is there in that particular control, or if somebody does a misappropriation, then you have to prepare the mitigation plan. And then, of course, the ratings would come, high, medium, low risk, and all that will come. So, any other questions in chat window? Let me have a look. Yeah, there are questions in the chat window also. Okay, there's a question. ISA, DISA compulsory for what kind of audit? So for bank audits, concurrent bank audits, they require ISA, DISA or CISA. ISA, DISA is the same thing. They require DISA or CISA for doing the bank audits. So there it is compulsory to have this qualification. Then, welcome Atish. Thank you for thanking me. Welcome. So Chirag and Anand want a PPT. Drop me a mail. I'll share the PPT with you all. Yeah, so there's a question from Anik. Any institute material available for classifying risk into high, medium, low? If not, whether it totally depends on professional judgment. No, the institute material is there. So if you refer, so the institute has four technical, thick 4 technical guides it has. And each technical guide has about 5 to 6 areas discussed. So one of the technical guides has risk-based internal audit. In that risk-based internal audit, it explains you how to classify the risk into high, medium, low. There's a question from Vasudha. How frequently should we update the risk control matrix? See, it all depends on the department for which the risk control matrix is prepared. If a department is a very dynamic department and it changes with the market conditions, so then you will have to at least update it on a quarterly basis or half-yearly basis. But other departments, maybe like HR payroll or procurement department or your admin department or finance accounts, you can update it on an annual basis. But it all depends upon the area it belongs to, the department. If let's say a very large broking firm, it has a risk control matrix. Now they are dependent on the stock market. The operations are dependent on the stock market. So those risk control matrix you have to update on a quarterly basis at least. मिश्रा जी और कोई क्वेश्चन, किसी को और कोई क्वेश्चन पूछना है?
नहीं मैम.
Okay. So should we close it? What should we do, Mishra ji? हम बंद करें?
Yes, Rita.
Who's this?
Yes. Good evening, Rita. I can see that you have been responding to a lot of questions, and all participants are confined, satisfied with your response. So thank you so much for addressing the queries of the members. And before I close down, I just take a couple of minutes to share with participants. Every day the session is of basically 2 to 3 hours, and today we have, where there is panel discussion, it is of 3 hours. Otherwise, it's like 1.5 to 2 hours. So today it is of more of like only a discussion. So tomorrow we have a internal audit plan. The time is 4:30 to 6:30. See, 4:30 to 7:30 is written in general, but however, primary is 4:30 to 6:30. Only when the panel discussion is there, 1 hour panel discussion is there, because beyond 1.5 to 2 hours, it's not probable to have a discussion on this particular topic. So 2 hours discussion is there, and tomorrow we have faculty CA Josefa Unwala, and at 4:30 sharp we'll start, and that is a plan, because it's always said that well plan is half done. So let us try to see that basically we need to really see that the planning has been done appropriately, and well plan is half done. On that matter, tomorrow we are going to discuss on planning front. And as I mentioned you, all of you again, in general it is 4:30 to 6:30. Wherever there is panel discussions, it is panel discussions is of 1 hour. Only on Wednesday, only on Thursday, 19th October, the timing is 3:30 to 5 p.m. and then 5 to 6 p.m. is a panel discussion. So first 3 days there is no panel discussion, so it will end at 6:30. And on fourth day, Thursday, it will start at 3:30, not at 4:30, because of the some particular requirement the faculty has requested to reshuffle. Hence we have reshuffled to 3:30. So on Thursday it is 3:30. Otherwise, tomorrow we are starting at 4:30. 4:30 to 6:30. All faculties will share presentation, and that all presentation will be uploaded. Will be uploaded on basically the website. Just a minute. Yeah, it will be uploaded on the website of WSICI. So that will be available. Rita, you want to add something?
Yeah, so my only suggestion is tomorrow, before the Josefa starts his session, please announce tomorrow before Josefa starts that the Thursday ka time has changed, because many people have gone now. So many people, about 20-30 people have gone. So they may be having other commitments. So you inform before the session starts. For Thursday.
Sure, I think this is every day I will do. It's not only one time, I know, because yeah. So for Thursday, every day till Thursday, I will basically inform, and we also drop email. Nidhi, yes, we are going to drop email also. So whatever possible, we best do it. The only thing is to repeat as much as possible, so that if somebody don't read the email, somebody don't listen today, somebody don't listen tomorrow morning. So 3 to 4 times interaction, I will try to see that at least everybody gets information on that part. So with this, I think we'll end again 4:30 p.m. to. Yes, Rita.
Sorry, I thought you were finishing it. You can complete it. You complete.
No, you want to say something?
Yeah, for the benefit.
Thanks to you.
Can you tell, for the benefit of the participants, how is the unstructured hours going to be given for CPRs? Because this question came in the chat and question answers.
Okay, great. I think a couple of things before I close. First is that there is no CPUs, structured CPUs. Why? Because it is a virtual. See, the objective of WRC in person, for my objective was that I want to ensure that everybody, irrespective of the location, should be able to get the knowledge. So for the first time, we have organized virtual, because I want that every region, whether it's Ahmedabad city or Nadiyad or Bhuj or Rajkot or in Nanded, anybody should be able to get knowledge. That's why we keep it virtual. As it is virtual, as per CPE guidelines, structured CPE hours is not available, but unstructured CPE hours you can claim by filing declaration on cpica.org. You can go and then you can basically upload and talk about upload these particular as your unstructured CP hours. You can mention 2, 4, 5, 10, 20 as per the number of hours you have done it. But the objective is not CP for this symposium. Everybody who is joining today is a craving for knowledge, and that's what I'm proud of all of you. And we wish that yes, we are able to focus more on this internal audit skill sets. That is the need of an hour. That is first point, CP, no CP. Second very important point, presentation. All faculties will share a presentation and that will be uploaded on wrc-ica.org. You can, after logging, you can download the presentation, not of this one, but any presentations, all are uploaded on ICA website. Third, about video recording. Video recording, at the moment, we have not taken a decision to upload, but we will take a call later on. We want all of you to really spare your time, not through video, but through physically. Because we all are aware right now that a lot of videos are available, but we don't have time to go there. So my humble request is that don't wait for video. If possible, we'll upload. But at this junction, let us take this opportunity to upgrade ourselves without compulsion. No one is going to join. Everybody is busy. So please spare your time valuable out and then really attend this particular thing. And I think with this, if you have any suggestions, if you have any feedback, you can also be in touch with me through WhatsApp or email or phone. My number is obviously available on as a regional council member on ICI WRC website. And so tomorrow at 4:30 to 6:30, risk-based audit plan. And before I close, basically, thank you so much. Pleasure to have to start a series of 7 days, and we need somebody with a seasoned faculty, has experience of lot, who can talk about anything. So, and you have done it well. And I'm receiving a lot of feedbacks for you, madam. It was a really wonderful session, and look forward to invite you in the future also. Thank you so much, Rita. Thank you all of you. Looking forward to see you tomorrow and every day. Please don't miss this any of the session. That is the humble request from my side. Thank you, Mishaji. We can close off.
Yeah, thanks a lot to the Institute, to Chintan, to Mishraji for organizing. Thanks a lot for inviting. Yeah,
Yes.
bye participants. Have a nice time now.